Hello and welcome to the latest Ask Me Anything. I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Emiel Brok for what's going to be a fun and insightful session. Now, we've had loads of questions submitted. In fact, so many we've had to block out an entire afternoon to get through them all. So we'll work through as many as we can in the time available. So apologies to any of you whose questions submitted didn't get answered, but we will of course follow up if you'd like us to. So before we get into the questions, Emiel, most people I think in the collective probably know who you are, but why don't you introduce yourself really quickly, tell us who you are and what it is you do here at SUSE.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for putting my name down, that you actually want to ask me questions. So I'm very much honored by this. So who am I? I am Emiel Brok. I am getting paid at SUSE to make sure that all our customers can find the best training possible, of course, around our great products and technologies of open source and SUSE. So that's what I get paid for.
And a lot more besides, probably. Brilliant.
A little bit on the side as well. Yeah, that's correct.
Of course. Right. Listen, you've seen these before, Emiel. You know how they run. It's an Ask Me Anything. So we've got a bunch of questions, business related and not business related. So let's kick off with some fun ones.
All right.
Just to start the conversation. So
yes,
here we go. So Edgar's, who's in Latvia. Here's a question for you.
Latvia.
Where do you get your positive energy source from?
Well, that's a great question to start off. For me, it's super important that I'm able to contribute in a more open source world, a more open world. And working at SUSE offers me that possibility. And even besides that, I get paid for it as well. So, yeah. Contributing to a more open world is my short answer to this.
Perfect. No, great. A good answer. Very good answer. Now, listen, I'm not known for typos. You know, these days you tend to autocorrect tends to step in and sort that out for you. However, you may not have noticed this, but when we introduced you as part of our training campaign, to those who didn't know you in the collective, your name was spelt incorrectly. In fact, the word email.
Oh yes.
Right. So I'm gonna blame autocorrect rather than my fat fingers, but. We had Arthur and Doug, who are both in the US, who picked up on it very quickly. And they wondered, is your name misspelt or mispronounced very often?
Yeah, actually it is. And I have a little bit of a story behind this. I know I have to give a short answer, so I'll try to keep it short. But if people ask me, how do I pronounce your name, especially people who are native English, I explain them. You would pronounce it the same way as if you would go to a restaurant and you order a meal.
Nice.
That's how you pronounce it. Emiel. It's easy as that.
Perfect. You know what? I wish you told me that because I keep calling you Emiel. So Emiel, that's it. From now on, Emiel, I will get it absolutely correct.
All right.
Okay. Now listen. Let's move on. And this is well timed because I can see your furry friend behind you as well. But Sean in South Africa wants to know why the chameleon or gecko is our mascot. I can't remember the story. Can you shed any light on that?
Yeah, I even made a little video about it. Before I started with the Friday Catch-ups, I did the Gecko on Tour series. And actually, I'm still continuing, at least if we're able to go traveling a bit more, then Gecko will be on tour again. And my first ever video that I ever made is for SUSE, is around why is Gecko a chameleon? And the answer is, at that time, we as SUSE, we were helping our customers, and it did not matter what kind of environment they have. So we said, whatever your environment is, we will adopt so you can succeed. And we don't use that that phrase anymore, but that is actually where why it's a chameleon, because it adopts and it almost disappears in its background. So if you are using SUSE, and that's still, of course, valuable in my opinion, you don't have to bother so much about adjusting it to your environment. We make sure that SUSE as operating system will make it very easy for you. In fact, it almost disappears. No work, no hassle, as long as you are well trained, of course. But that's a little bit of my commercial side.
Yeah, of course, and we'll get into training in a minute, of course. Listen, thanks for that answer. You've educated me there as well. I think I knew that, but it's good to have a reminder. So let's move on. You mentioned it actually in your response there as well. But Glenn in the US is obviously a fan of the ketchup, and many people in the collective will know your Friday ketchup escapades over goodness knows how many episodes now. But he wants to talk about ketchup as in the condiment, the sauce, and wants to know what your favourite brand is. So is there a brand that Emiel has with his meal?
Wow, that's a very good question. Well, I am Dutch, so in the Netherlands, and close by to the side of the Netherlands, I live in the east side of the Netherlands, and close by, well, fairly close by, around 15 to 20 minutes, there is the Heinz factory. So I have to go for Heinz. But do you actually know that Heinz used to have a green tomato sauce? So in the past, there was a green tomato sauce. I didn't like the taste so much, to be honest, but it was, of course, great fun to have that. So if anyone still has a bottle of green tomato ketchup for me, I would love to get my hands on it. I will show it in the Friday ketchup for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I haven't seen the green one for a while, but I'm with you on the Heinz. For me, it has to be Heinz when it comes to ketchup. So, but let's talk about your ketchup, right? So let's get away from eating and talk about your ketchup.
All right.
So obviously you're the host of, I've called it your own chat show, Emiel, which I know you've been doing regularly for a number of times now. We've had a few questions for you, for our members.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
So here we go. So Joris from Belgium wants to know, where did the idea come from? How did it come about in the first place?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Joris. So thanks for the question. The answer is that, as I said, before Corona time, I was traveling around with Geeko, and we were doing Geeko on tour. And then suddenly it was not possible anymore to travel. So I was stuck here in my home office, and I thought like, hey, I miss that element. And also people ask me like, hey, will you be able to do something so we can keep a connection to our very important community, open source community? So then we figured out that I was together with a colleague at that time. We were on Friday afternoon. We had the habit of talking about all sorts of things that was happening in the open source world. So maybe big takeovers, this company bought this pieces, like when Microsoft bought GitHub, and all these kind of things happening. And then we were talking about that. Somebody from marketing joined literally into that call, almost coincidentally, like she rang into the call, said, no, let's answer, and blah, 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 we're talking about. And then she said, hey, why are you guys not going to record what you talk about? So the first something like 20 episodes were together with this colleague. And then he left the company, unfortunately. And then I had to reconsider what I did. So then I thought, well, if nobody has any objection, then I would like to invite guests, have every week another guest, talk about the love for open source, talk about SUSE, talk about maybe some peculiar things that people have, and of course the love for music.
Yeah, absolutely, and we love it. And actually, I should say to people, if you haven't, go and subscribe to Emiel's channel anyway. Have a good look at all the videos and the content he creates. And actually, I actually went right back, and I looked at the very first few videos that you did, and they're very different, but great fun. But great fun. So moving on from that, Nikal in the Czech Republic, and I know the answer to this question, but he's posed it, so I'm going to ask it. Do you enjoy recording them?
No, I hate it. It's a every week, every time when I have one coming, I like, oh no, what do I have to do? And of course I worry about what to wear, how to do my hair. That's also a big trouble. Which glasses to wear? So it's only stress, no fun at all. No, sorry.
I'm not sure I believe you.
I'm a sales guy, so why don't you believe me?
A very good point. I'm not going to answer that question.
No, okay.
you've had a load of people, including me actually. You invited me on a while ago as guests. Binoy, who's in South Africa, wants to know how hard is it to find people to come on with you on those Fridays? Is there a pipeline of people that you already have, or do you sort of go week to week?
Yeah, good question. I do have a waiting list now, but as I told you in the beginning, my pay job, that what Susie actually pays me for, is make sure that our customers, at least the customers in MEA, find the right training. And you can't believe it maybe, but sometimes I'm so busy with my actual day-to-day job that I really have to set priorities, and I cannot do a Friday catch-up weekly. And there is another challenge, because I was able to sort of get in a cadence of weekly Friday catch-ups until this summer, because my son, who was the cameraman, now is studying in the other side of the Netherlands, about 2 hours minimum from here. And that means that my cameraman left, and now I have to find an alternative. So I bought a camera that I can set up. It's actually over there. So we might use pieces of the recording. Hello, people in that camera. But I find it difficult to get the same energy and the same vibe as I was able to create with Luc as my cameraman, who was not doing that much, but just enough, switching to the dog, like Lucky, the dog behind me, and then the cat came in, and then he was filming the cat, and then we were showing something on the other screen, and we were going to that screen. So yeah, two important things there is one, priorities, and the other one is the cameraman is gone. Doesn't mean that I stopped, because I did one recently when I was in Nuremberg with Marita Werner. It's the last Friday catch-up that you can look at right now. And yeah, more are definitely coming up. But yeah, it's priorities.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Obviously, Luke's education is important, so we can't bring it back every Friday just to film you and the dog and the cat in your conversation. So listen, last question about the ketchup. Simon in the UK picked up.
Oh, Simon! Hey, Simon.
There you go. I know you've got it there because it's always there. But what's the story with the green car?
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, let me get it here. Here we go. Here is the green car. It's a Lamborghini Sian, and it's Lego. So I don't know if you can see it actually, but it is Technic Lego. So it has got moving doors like this, and oh man, boys and the toys, right?
Yeah.
The back wing here is moving up and down, and it actually has got a 8-gear gearbox. How you call it? 8-gear gearbox. Working 8-gear gearbox, and the hood can open up, and I just love it. And besides that, I just love Technic Lego. I'm also in my free time sometimes working as a volunteer. SUSE volunteer work, because if you work at SUSE, you get 1, even 2 days now to do volunteer work. What I do is I'm a referee at Lego Technic or Lego Robot, Lego Mindstorms, matches for children. And that's, I think, a fantastic way to get all sorts of children, all sorts of age, all sort of all gender, all everyone to be in contact with technology in an early age.
Yeah, I love it. And I have to ask, Emiel, how long did it take to build that?
I built it twice, because the first time I built it, I was not happy because there was a little bit of a crack in the gearbox at between the 7th and the 8th gear. And I was not happy with that. So the first time it took me about 11 hours. And the second time I completely took it apart. Again, it's 4,096 pieces. And the second time it took me about 8 hours.
Wow, you're a patient man. More patient than I. It's very impressive though. Right, listen, we as you know, during the summer we ran a campaign.
Yep.
And we focused on training and certification, which is where all these questions have come from. So actually, it's important we ask some questions about training, about the bit that you're paid for. So let's
let's keep my boss happy. Keep my boss happy.
So I'm going to make sure I get the questions right. So I'm going to read a couple off the screen just in case I forget what they've asked. So,
all right.
Marcel, who's not too far from you in the Netherlands.
Ah, Marcel Huisman.
Yes, that's correct. Now, he wants to know, and I think I know the answer. He wants to know, have you personally followed every available course?
No, not one. I would say I dive into a few here and there, but I am actually absolutely not hired for my technical skills at SUSE. It's not that I'm afraid or I don't like the technology. It's just that I think I prefer to communicate with people above directly only with machines, and yeah, it never really happened. So no, I'm not technical at all. I would hopelessly fail for any SUSE exam because we have a great set of certifications. But no, far away from that.
Join the club. Join the club. I'm in exactly the same place as you. So good.
But maybe I can elaborate a little bit more, because what is important, I think, for everyone at SUSE, that you don't have to be able to be an administrator yourself or a developer, but we have to be able to explain to, let's say, my mother. It would be better in my home tongue, otherwise it will be a bit difficult probably if I do it in English. But we must be able to explain these complex technologies so that my mother understands. And that's most of the time enough.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, and it's the sort of thing that I tend to look at a lot as well. People say to me, "What do you do? And what does SUSE do?" And exactly that. You know, I explain it in a way, hopefully, that my mother would understand as well. She's not like me; she's not technical. Okay, let's move on. I've got 3 questions from David, but I'll do one at a time rather than asking you all 3.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to read it out word for word because the first part is reasonably long, but here we go. So. He says, while silver and gold subscription levels are a good choice for organizations, for individuals or tiny sized businesses, a path-focused training tier would be better. So, for example, subscription to access the 6 e-learning courses in SES 15 with 1 or 2 exam vouchers and maybe 1 Ask the Expert session. Is there any plan or consideration to do this in the future?
Well, what can you say about the future? But at the moment, at least, the company made a choice to go for an internal system, and that internal system only allows us to give customers and actually everyone, you're either in or out. It's not possible to make a split between these topics and these topics. So that's a great benefit, because anyone who purchases access to our great e-learning, either in the silver or the gold method, you have access to everything. But it's also, I have to be honest, not possible for us to give access to only a few or 1 of the topics.
Sure. No, that's fair enough, very straightforward. Let's go on to his next question then. Is there, his question here, is there some planning to get the videos and documentation from e-learning translated into other languages apart from English?
That's a very good question. Actually, we already have it in 2 other languages. We have it in Japanese, because the Japanese market really demanded that we would translate it from English to Japanese, and not all courses, but a set of the courses are available in Japanese, and in Korean as well. So we do have a subset of the courses available in a few languages. But if there is a business case for other languages, we are very open to investigate. And of course, we will look at the big picture for SUSE then. So how is the big picture for SUSE if we're going to invest in translation? Because our training department is a for-profit business unit in SUSE nowadays. That means that we must have a positive business case. But if there is a very strong demand from any country, any language, let us know always, because I'm always interested in how we can help our customers all over the world in any language.
No, that's great. So I think David in Spain, obviously Spanish is, I assume, will be his language of choice. I think the answer there, David, watch this space. And who knows, if there's a business case, we'll certainly make it happen. Well, I say we, Emiel and the team will make it happen. Okay, and the last one from David. In the training page, there's nothing about Ask the Expert sessions. Assuming they exist to resolve new skills or doubts, are they individually available to buy? Can people go and purchase a session like that?
No, the answer not very political correct, but the question is very good. The Ask the Expert service is part of the e-learning Gold, and e-learning Gold is a service that customers can buy, and they get besides everything which is in the e-learning Silver, they also get the active labs to work on. So that's very important for, well, you could say unlimited number of hours to work in the environment. It's not completely unlimited, but it's limited to the maximum usage of one person in a year. And if somebody used it only on their own and they are running over the hours, I haven't come across that question. So I would say unlimited hours of lab time. On top of that, there are 5 exams that someone can do in that year time. And there is the Ask the Expert service. So the Ask the Expert service is really something that we have set up now as part of the extra value for a customer who purchases e-learning Gold. Doesn't say that we are not going to do that in the future, but at this moment we have got one instructor in the whole world, and he has to answer all those Ask the Expert questions, besides delivering courses, developing courses, and helping with translating customer demand into the training they need. So at the moment, the answer is kind of cruel, but no. But again, if there is a market demand for it. So thanks for this question, because we'll definitely develop further as a department.
Yeah, no, perfect. Good to know. Okay, let's move on from David. Thanks, David, for your questions.
Yes.
Lorenzo in the US wants to know, and I have an opinion here, what's the least expensive or most comprehensive way to obtain SUSE certification if your employer is unwilling to pay for training and certification? So while you consider your answer, my answer clearly is
I was going to give your answer.
Yeah, get the collective points and spend those, and we'll make sure you get that training and certification. But what would your response be? Any different to that?
No. The best possible answer is go to the collective, be part of those great activities, communicate with your fellow SUSE users, SUSE and Ranger. I have to be careful here, SUSE and Ranger, and score those points. And if you have enough points, then you're able to do an exam for free.
Absolutely. So, we've had a few in the last couple of months, as you know, who have started to use their points. And listen, it's not cheap through the collective, of course. But what I should say to people is, it's probably if you attach money to each point that people earn, buying your training and certification through the collective is probably half the cost of as it would be if you purchased it, through your business or personally. So keep earning those points, Lorenzo, and we'll get you a voucher as soon as you want one.
Isn't it so that if somebody, like Lorenzo, if he's a SUSE user and he would like to give us something like a, how you say that, a reference of how he is using SUSE as a customer, and he would be willing and able, of course you have to be able if you work at a secret service, maybe you're not, but if you are working at a department and you're working with SUSE in a professional way, and you would like to tell us and our fellow customers about this, then please do so. And I'm pretty sure if somebody comes with a good reference like this, we might be able to do something for such a person. Don't you think so, you?
No, I'm pretty sure we can. Absolutely, yeah. But the more opportunities that are out there for our customers to tell their stories, share their stories, we're always happy to award points. And obviously for Lorenzo and others, those points can be used against training or whatever it is they want. So yeah, good, absolutely good point. Right, let's crack on through. So we've got a few more questions on the training side. So Brian's also in the US, and this may not be a simple question, but he's asking, what's the most popular training course at the moment?
Well, I would say there are 2 super popular training courses. Sorry for not going for one, but for 2. The reason is that as long as I am with SUSE, we have the /201, and nowadays it's 201 version 15. That is, as long as I work for SUSE, that's the most obtained, most done course, and people underestimate how difficult the exam actually is nowadays to become an SCA, SUSE certified administrator. You have to pass the exam combined with that course. And that course, the 201 for SLES, is really a topper. It's on the top 3 as long as I'm with SUSE. But we have a great star as well, and that's the Ranger 201. That training offers you the possibility to become the only official Ranger SUSE certification. So to obtain the only official SUSE Ranger certification, you do the Ranger 201 course, and you can pass the Ranger exam.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know there's a, well, we'll come on to it later on, but there's a lot more coming, which I'm sure will prove very popular. But SLES is always going to be right up there at the branch, as you say. So, again, I probably know your answer to Marco. Marco's in Mexico, and his question is, what would be, what are the best or most essential training courses to take? Now, I assume that will come down to the solutions that you're using, but what would your opinion be on that?
Yeah, so if I understand the question correctly, again, in the same sort of direction, with the most popular training course or my personal favorite?
Yeah, I guess, yes, in your experience, so many of our courses are related to specific products, of course, and they have to be. But is there one that stands out? Is there the best, or if you're taking on a SUSE solution, is there a central course that our customers should be looking at?
Yeah, the SLE 201 version 15. That's the course that is, you could say, the fundament under all sorts of other courses that are building upon that. So if you are going to use SUSE Manager, a great product, or you're going in the direction of SES for SAP, then I would really recommend to take the SLE 201, because it's the basis, it's the fundament underneath all these other courses.
Yeah, no, great. Thank you for that. Okay, let's move on to a question from Ben, who's in Canada.
All right.
He says, what would be good training to take to learn more about ways we can use salt states?
Oh, salt. Okay. Salt is the open source project, or one of the open source projects under SUSE Manager. So I would say have a look at SUSE Manager, but also in the advanced training. So I was talking about SLE 201 earlier. We also have SLE 301, and that means that it's the advanced course, advanced administration course for SLES. And if you look at chapter 9, section 9, if I'm correct, there is a whole topic on configuration management with SALT. And in that topic, the second chapter, if I remember correctly, is specifically about the different SALT states.
Perfect. Yeah, great. I think you're absolutely right. Okay, here's a question from our old friend Sayanta. Less of the old. Sayanta.
Santa Benjurin. Hello,
that's
Sayanta.
It. There you go. Do we have any certification on K3S?
Certification, it's a topic within the certification of, is it only training or only certification, or also training that he asks?
He just asked about certification, but if you want to widen that out.
Well, yeah, because there is a difference. Some of our courses in our portfolio lead to a certification, and some don't. And the Ranger training and the certification that comes along, that contains questions around K3S. And also there are some e-modules that also are specifically about the deployment side of K3S. So yes, in training, and also in the certification, because there is the developer certification for Ranger, and that has certainly some quite heavy questions around K3S.
Right, there we go, Sayanta. So keep an eye out. Okay, let's get into the last few on training. So Stefan in Germany would like to know, will there be a training stream for security, possibly with New Vector?
Yeah, there is already. there is a entry level, so a 101, as we call it. So I was talking earlier about SLE 201. I was talking about SLE 301. Underneath the 201 and the 301 is the 101, quite logical. And there is a Neue Vector 101 already. So that is about security and hardening your Linux and your container environments.
Fantastic. And Stefan, you may have asked that question before we released that. Of course, some of
that's possible.
Came a while ago. So
yeah,
it's possible.
No, that's very well possible, because this Neue Vector training, I think the beta was run in summertime, and if I remember correctly, it was August maybe that we released this. So
correct.
Definitely possible. Thanks for the question, Stefan.
Exactly. Now, to finish off this section here, I've got a couple of questions. I know you work with training providers all over the world, and specifically for you, Emiel and APJ obviously being your regions. But Thomas wants to know, apart from B1 and Fastlane, any other providers in Germany?
Well, let me say we have got 2 global training partners, HPE and Fastlane. So they are able and allowed to deliver all the trainings all over the world for SUSE. And for some countries, well, not some, 30 odd countries, we have got specific training partners as well. And for Germany, which is, of course, from the history, one of our biggest markets, also for training, we have fantastic training partners. You mentioned B1, you mentioned Fastlane, but we should not forget another great training partner in Germany, that's LANWorks. So there are, besides B1 and Fastlane, there is also LANWorks.
Perfect. There we go, Thomas. So hopefully, when you're looking to get involved, more options to consider.
Yes.
Let's have the same question, though, but related to Brunei, because Aslin was asking about Brunei. Is there anything in Brunei you can share? Or the closest, maybe?
Yeah, I hope you can see all the things working here in my brains now. I think closest training center would be in Dubai then. So in the Middle East, if I'm not completely mistaken here, but that's for sure. But let me say, it doesn't matter Brunei or the Philippines or wherever in the world, we have training partners who are able to deliver training anywhere, anytime. And of course, e-learning. So if you are also appreciating to do self-study, e-learning obviously is also possible to do it anywhere, anytime, if you're in Brunei or in any place on this world. But training partners, if you're looking for instructor-led training partners, then in South Africa, there is a great training center who deliver training, also in the Middle East. And of course, it's also possible to log in from in the same time zone. So I would say any training partner in Europe would probably be able to help as well. But feel free to reach out to me if you have a specific question. And if we have a group of people, of course, we can organize a classroom training for a customer, well, anywhere in the world as well.
Perfect. There we go, Aslin. So give that some consideration and give me a shout, and we can work that out.
Absolutely.
Okay. Finally, in this section, we're nearly there. I'm going to let you go soon. I've got similar questions for both Miriam in Morocco and Jose in Spain about what's next. Now, obviously, you could talk for a while about what's next. I'm conscious of your time and everyone watching this as well. Have we got any plans for new courses, and how do you think our offering might change in the years ahead?
Oh, I'm not allowed to say so much, but you can imagine that most important topics for SUSE on a global scale now, as we are a independent company, and we purchased a Ranger, and we even purchased which we already talked about a little bit, a proprietary piece of software, Neue Vector, that we made open. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to imagine that our training department is also investing a lot in courses in this direction. And then also to give a little bit of a direction, we don't have a 201 yet for Neue Vector. So it would be in my line of expectations that we will get a administrator level Neue Vector training. And also, if you look at the Ranger, we might be able to come with something in the deployment side of Ranger for a training delivery there. So I would think in those directions, and that's for content wise. But of course, for the methodology wise, earlier was a question about can we get access to only this or to only this? With our current supplier and back office of the e-learning, it's only possible to have access to one. Access to one is access to all. You can imagine that we would like to have some more novice and up-to-date system regarding that. The system now is great and it's really trustworthy, and that's very important. And running a technical training puts high demand on that area. But you can imagine that we are always investigating in more, I would say, maybe fun elements in delivering a training. Get a little bit of catch-up energy in our training offering as well.
Perfect. Who doesn't need a bit of catch-up energy?
Exactly.
Fantastic, whether it's green or red. Okay, last question. Question. And actually links back to the catch-up that you referenced there. So I know the catch-up continues, and I know that you'll try new formats, and we'll see what we see from you in the weeks ahead. But I also know you're working on quite an exciting new project. And I don't know whether you can share anything about what might be coming.
Okay, I don't know exactly what I'm allowed to share, but hey, it's nothing is set in stone. So let me say that first. But what I'm going to reveal here is that we are working on a video format where we try to combine the energy and the fun element of the Friday Catch-up, but put a little bit more content or meat on the bones, as you can say, I believe in English as well, behind it. So what we want to do is make a connection between what are the questions being asked at our support colleagues from the support department, and how are we able to answer those with our current training course portfolio. I'm investigating that right now. Don't tell anyone yet, but you can expect that if everything moves on the way we think it will move on like this, that at, well, I would say this year, we would come with something new and in the direction of what I just said.
Perfect. Well, you've given me a little bit of insight privately, and you shared a bit on this call. We won't share any more now. Suffice to say that you and I have spoken about it. It looks really exciting, and of course, when you've created it, we'll share that in the collective, and our members can have a good look and give you their feedback, which we always appreciate. So,
yes.
Listen, Emiel, we've probably gone slightly over the 30 minutes we promised. So we're out of time, I guess. Otherwise, we're going to bore people. You won't. I might bore people. So listen, I'll wrap it up. To everybody watching, thank you. We really appreciate your questions, and hope Emiel's answers were appreciated by those of you who asked those questions. Anything you want more clarity on, any follow-ups, any questions we missed, please do let us know, and I'll make sure Emiel answers those either in discussion threads or directly if that's more appropriate. So, Emiel, thank you as ever for your time. It's always a joy catching up. I know we catch up regularly, but great to see you on the AMAs here as well. Thanks for giving us your time. We're very grateful. Thanks to Russ again, who's in the background doing the clever stuff, making us look as hopefully better than we normally do. And until the next time, we will see you soon. Thanks, Emiel.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, you. Have a great day.